I guess it started with growing up in the family I grew up in, and we didn't have the easiest of times, but our parents made them the most comfortable of times, and I saw how my parents governed their life, and I had three siblings who had special needs, and I came along later, and I saw the love that my folks gave to them and clearly gave to me, and how important community was to them, and the importance of being thankful for all the things we had. And when you saw growing up the things that we didn't have, it sort of gave you a perspective on what's important. And what's important is family, is being part of a community, and being a Jew. So that basically, I guess, is the genesis of what I found to be important and what I thought it meant to play a part in that. You know, we're not a big community. We're a very small community, and when someone gives $1 to the United Appeal, every dollar's $500,000. When we give $1 to our Jewish community, it's maybe $1,000. And we have to support everybody in our community with all the things that we have, that the bigger community has that many more people to provide that money. So that's important. You want to make your community a better place, but also you want to make sure that everyone in the community, and by everyone I mean everyone, whether they're elderly, whether they're infirm, whether they're mentally challenged, have an opportunity to have the same life you had. And that's very important. My dad passed away. My mother was incapacitated, and my responsibility was to look after my two brothers. I tried to keep them in the family home. That didn't work because, quite frankly, I couldn't find anyone to look after them on an ongoing basis, keeping them safe, keeping them active, keeping them alert, making their life happy, enjoyable, relevant. So they ended up in a second-level lodging home, which was very, very unsatisfactory, and it wasn't fair to them, and they were unhappy, and because they were unhappy, I was unhappy, and I wanted better for them. I approached Shalom Village about whether or not there was a place for them in the Shalom Village facility, and at that time, Bernie Oliver Shalom was 65, and Teddy was 57, 58. And really I was told that they couldn't be accommodated there because of their special needs and I don't want to say the word ignorance, but the lack of understanding of the folks who were there of what special needs are. So I had a meeting with Sheila Berman and Sylvia Jacobs and Emmy Wise, and they told me that there was no place in Hamilton that could accommodate my brothers in a Jewish setting. So my choices were either to place them with Rena in Toronto or start a place in Hamilton. Well, there's no darn way that I was going to move my brothers to Toronto when their whole life was in Hamilton, and quite frankly the last 20 or so years of their life at that point was in Westdale. So I took it on myself to look into and figure how we could start a Jewish home for developmentally challenged adults in the Jewish community. And that led to Beth Tikva. Had tremendous support from the government. I had tremendous support from friends, but it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And I realized how tough it is to get something like that up and going, but it was a void in our community. It was a terrible void in our community. Shalom Village had been a terrible void in our community because we didn't have it. This was a terrible void in our community because we didn't have it. The nursing home hadn't come along at that point, I don't think. But we needed to have a complete community. It wasn't enough to have social events at the Jewish Community Center. It wasn't enough to have places where you could go and throw a basketball around and meet. You needed something so that everyone had an opportunity for quality of life. And to me, that's very important. But the fact that our campaign in the UJA has stagnated for the last number of years at a plateau that no matter how we struggle, it's difficult to get over, you wonder. You really wonder what it takes to make people understand how important our community is, how little help we have from outside our own community, and if we don't look after ourselves, who's going to look after us? If we say, let someone else do it, then we're abandoning our responsibility. The easiest thing is to say, it'll get done. And no one's going to let our community go by the wayside. So it'll get done. But I'll tell you something. If no one steps up to the plate, there's not going to be a plate to step up to.